They marked her as non-combat at the Alien Academy. The kill trial proved them dead wrong. No one noticed the human when she stepped onto the steel platform of the galactic trial gate. That was the first mistake. The second mistake was trusting the system. The Orion War Academy had trained the deadliest beings in known space. Creatures born under crushing gravity. Species evolved with claws, venom, armor, or minds built purely for war. For centuries, the Academy relied on one thing above all else, its evaluation core. A massive predictive intelligence that judged every applicant before they ever touched a weapon. And according to the core, humans were harmless. The file was clear. Species: human. Origin world: terror. Threat index: low. Combat viability: minimal. Classification: non-combat support. When the assessment flashed across the briefing chamber, several instructors laughed. Humans had soft skin. Fragile bones. No natural weapons. No night vision. No armor plating. They were clever, yes, but clever did not survive the kill trial. Commander Vila didn't even finish reading the report. Another charity admission, he said, folding his 4 arms across his armored chest. They'll pull her before the trial. But the treaty required one thing. Every sentient species that reached interstellar travel had the right to attempt the Academy. One attempt. That was how Mara Cade ended up standing in the intake hall with monsters. She didn't look dangerous. She wore no armor. No visible implants. Just a dark utility jacket, reinforced boots, and calm eyes that moved slowly, studying everything. While other candidates displayed dominance, roaring, flaring spines, spreading wings, Mara stood still. Watching. Learning. Across the hall, a towering Zaan brute cracked his knuckles, each one the size of her wrist. Near him, a blade-limbed Sithril flexed her arms, metal edges humming softly. A pack of insectoid tacticians chittered in rapid patterns, already forming alliances. They all ignored the human. Perfect. The orientation began with the traditional announcement. In 72 hours, the Academy voice boomed, you will enter the kill trial arena. 200 candidates will enter. 30 will exit as students. The rest will be removed. No one asked what removed meant. Everyone already knew. Weapons would be live. Terrain unpredictable. Rules minimal. Mara didn't react. Her heart rate stayed steady. Her breathing slow. That data was recorded too, and dismissed as fear paralysis. After orientation, candidates scattered. Some rushed to weapons testing. Others to combat simulations. Alliances formed in minutes. Mara went the opposite direction. She walked into the Academy archive. That caught the attention of Instructor Selm, a veteran strategist whose species had survived 3 galactic wars. He watched her from the upper level as she scanned records, past trials, terrain maps, casualty statistics, failure patterns. She wasn't reading for inspiration. She was building a model. For 6 hours, she studied how others died. The next day, the arena preparation began. Candidates were allowed to choose one primary weapon. Plasma cannons, grave blades, energy whips, technology capable of cutting tanks in half. Mara walked past them all. She stopped at a forgotten rack. Is this functional? She asked. The technician blinked. That? It's kinetic. Obsolete. Manual reload. I'll take it. A few nearby candidates laughed. Projectile weapons were outdated. Slow. Limited. They didn't understand the advantage. No energy signature. No charge time. No warning. Mara trained alone. She didn't try to overpower machines. She ran, again and again, until her legs burned and her lungs screamed. She practiced climbing, falling, rolling. She mapped pain and learned to ignore it. The Academy sensors flagged her as inefficient. The system didn't understand endurance. On the final night before the trial, bets were placed. Mara's survival odds were the lowest. Some gave her 10 minutes. Others were generous. 30. She slept anyway. The kill trial arena activated at dawn. A vast artificial world unfolded, ruined cities, dense forests, fractured mountains, shifting weather. Candidates were dropped randomly, gear limited, supplies scarce. Mara landed hard in a collapsed urban sector. She didn't panic. She moved. While others hunted immediately, she vanished into shadow, climbing broken structures, observing movement patterns. She tracked larger predators. Watched alliances clash early, exactly as predicted. Overconfidence killed faster than weapons. The first scream echoed within minutes. Then another. Energy blasts lit the skyline. Mara waited. When a Zaan brute crushed a rival in the street below her position, she adjusted her angle, controlled her breathing, and fired once. The projectile punched through exposed tissue behind armor plating. The brute collapsed. No explosion. No alert. The arena didn't even register it immediately. Mara moved before anyone noticed. By the first hour, 10 candidates were gone. By the second, alliances were breaking. And somewhere deep in the command center, a warning light flickered. The system hesitated. Because the human classified as non-combat was still alive. And the kill trial had only just begun. The arena learns the difference between strength and intelligence. The first official alert came 2 hours into the kill trial. It wasn't dramatic. No alarms blared. No emergency sirens echoed through the command center. It was just a quiet anomaly notice blinking yellow on the main tactical display. Instructor Selm noticed it first. "Candidate count mismatch," he said calmly, tilting his elongated head toward the screen. Commander Vila barely looked up. "Sensor lag. The arena always takes time to reconcile casualties." Selm didn't answer. His eyes narrowed as he expanded the data feed. 3 eliminations in one zone. No energy discharge recorded. No melee indicators. No heavy impact signatures. Just silence. "That's not lag," Selm said. Vila leaned forward now. The replay showed a Zaan brute charging down a ruined street. Massive. Armored. Confident. Then the creature collapsed mid-step, momentum carrying its body forward before it hit the ground. No visible attacker. No warning. Vila frowned. "What weapon does that?" Selm enlarged the scan. "Kinetic penetration. High precision." Vila's 4 brows lifted. "Primitive." Selm didn't smile. "Effective." While the instructors argued, Mara Cade moved. She had already abandoned the urban sector. Too many eyes. Too much noise. Early success made places dangerous. Patterns formed quickly in the arena, and smart predators learned to avoid predictability. She traveled through drainage corridors and broken service tunnels, using debris to erase her trail. Her weapon stayed slung across her back, protected from dust. Her hands were free. That mattered. She heard them before she saw them. A hunting group. 4 candidates, mixed species. A brute for force. 2 fast movers. 1 tactical coordinator. A standard formation. They moved loudly, confident no one small could threaten them. Mara climbed. She scaled a fractured support column, muscles burning but controlled. She positioned herself above their path and waited until the leader signaled a halt. That was when she dropped. Not onto them. Behind them. Her first shot shattered the coordinator's sensory node. The second hit a fast mover mid-leap. Chaos followed. The brute roared, swinging blindly. The last survivor ran. Mara didn't chase. She didn't need to. The arena terrain would finish the job. 3 more eliminations. No alliance. No prolonged fight. Just removal. By midday, whispers spread. Something was wrong. Candidates began to notice patterns. Groups vanished without warning. Dominant hunters stopped responding. Energy weapons failed to find targets. Fear replaced excitement. In the command center, yellow warnings turned orange. The evaluation core recalculated threat probabilities. Human survival odds increased from negligible to unlikely. Still dismissed. "The system says she's hiding," Vila said. Avoidance behavior. That's all. Seln didn't respond. He was watching Mara's movement feed. She wasn't hiding. She was shaping the battlefield. As the arena shifted weather patterns, heavy rain flooding low ground, Mara redirected her path. She avoided obvious shelters. Instead, she used elevated ruins and natural bottlenecks. She left false signs, broken debris, misleading tracks. She turned the arena into a maze. Others followed. They died. Late in the second phase, a new threat emerged. Kayla Riftborn. One of the favorites. Tall. Fast. Armored in layered biometal. A veteran of 3 planetary sieges. His species thrived in chaos. His weapon was an energy spear capable of piercing shielded targets. Kayla didn't hunt randomly. He followed absence. He noticed zones where noise stopped. Bodies without witnesses. He followed the trail backward. Toward Mara. Their first encounter was brief. Mara saw him crest a ridge ahead and froze. Kayla saw her too. For a moment, neither moved. "You," Kayla said through his translator. "The small one." Mara raised her weapon slightly but didn't fire. "Not yet." "You killed my pack," he continued. "I defended myself," she replied. Kayla laughed. "You're classified as prey." "Your system is wrong," Mara said. Kayla charged. Fast. Faster than anything she had faced so far. Mara ran. Not away. Sideways. She led him into a collapsed transit tunnel. Narrow. Unstable. His speed worked against him. His armor scraped the walls. She fired once. Missed. On purpose. Kayla roared and lunged. Mara slid beneath his strike, planted her foot against the wall, and used his momentum. He slammed into reinforced concrete. The structure gave. The tunnel collapsed. Mara escaped through a maintenance hatch as debris buried Kayla alive. She didn't check if he was dead. Time mattered more than certainty. The command center erupted. That was deliberate. Vila shouted. She manipulated terrain. Seln nodded. That's combat. The evaluation core stalled. Data conflicted. Human physiology remained weak. Human behavior was lethal. The system flagged a recalibration request. Denied. The kill trial continued. Night fell. By the third phase, only 60 candidates remained. Mara was injured now. A shallow burn along her arm. Exhaustion crept in. Hunger pressed hard. She kept moving anyway. Because stopping meant dying. She encountered another human. A man. Older. Wounded. Terrified. He raised his hands when he saw her. "I didn't know it would be like this," he said. "They told us, support roles. Logistics. Observation." Mara lowered her weapon. "They lied," she said. "Can we team up?" he asked desperately. She hesitated. Then nodded. For 1 hour, they worked together. Shared water. Watched each other's blind spots. Then he panicked. When a shadow moved too fast nearby, he fired wildly. Energy blasts lit the area. Drew attention. Creatures came. Mara ran. She heard him scream behind her. She didn't look back. Trust was a risk she couldn't afford. By dawn, 35 candidates remained. The system could no longer ignore the anomaly. Human classification shifted from non-combat to unknown variable. Still not combatant. Still underestimated. Mara reached the final zone. Open terrain. No cover. No escape routes. This was where the survivors would clash. She checked her ammunition. 3 rounds left. She smiled faintly. That would be enough. Above the arena, Instructor Seln leaned closer to the screen. "She's not surviving by accident," he said quietly. Commander Vila said nothing. Because for the first time in Academy history, the kill trial wasn't deciding who was strongest. It was revealing who understood war. And the human had only just begun to teach that lesson. When the arena realized humans do not fight fair, the final phase of the kill trial began without ceremony. No announcements. No warnings. Just a silent shift in the terrain as the arena's artificial intelligence compressed the battlefield, forcing the remaining candidates closer together. Mountains lowered. Forests burned away. Ruins collapsed into open killing fields. 35 entered the final zone. 30 were required to exit. That meant 5 would not. Mara Cade stood at the edge of a broken plateau, wind pulling at her jacket, eyes fixed on the chaos below. Her body ached. Her muscles were tight with exhaustion. Her arm burned where the energy scorch had kissed flesh. She welcomed the pain. Pain meant she was still alive. Below her, alliances fractured. Old enemies circled each other. Predators sized up predators. Everyone was dangerous now. Everyone was afraid. This was the moment the arena expected raw strength to win. It was wrong. Mara didn't rush in. She watched. She learned. She saw how the larger species moved, confident but predictable. How energy weapons overheated in rapid exchanges. How the strongest fighters burned themselves out early, trying to dominate space instead of control it. She waited until the first clash ended. 2 giants fell. 1 crawled away screaming. Then she moved. She slid down the slope and entered the battlefield from the side, low and fast. She stayed out of sight, using wreckage and smoke as cover. When she fired, she never stayed to confirm a kill. Shoot. Relocate. Disappear. Panic spread faster than blood. Candidates began firing at shadows. Energy blasts struck empty ground. Shields flared and failed. Trust collapsed. Some screamed in rage. Others begged. The arena recorded it all. In the command center, alarms finally sounded. Not emergency alarms. System alarms. The evaluation core locked itself in recursive analysis loops. Human threat assessment no longer fit any existing model. Commander Vila slammed a fist into the console. She's breaking the parameters. She's using them, Instructor Selm replied. Vila turned. She was marked non-combat. Selm's voice stayed calm. So were Storm's, once. The core issued a final update. Human classification. Unpredictable combat entity. Too late. On the field, Mara encountered her final test. A lone figure stepped into her path. Tall. Lean. Calm. Seraph of the Pale Mind. A psionic. One of the most feared types in the academy. Seraph didn't need weapons. His mind alone could fracture thoughts, induce terror, paralyze enemies with a single focused pulse. He smiled when he saw her. Your kind fascinates me, he said gently. So much effort. So much movement. All to avoid the inevitable. Mara felt it then. Pressure. Not physical. Mental. Memories blurred. Sounds stretched. Her legs weakened. Seraph advanced slowly. Your mind is fragile, he said. I can feel your fear. Mara gritted her teeth. He was wrong. It wasn't fear he felt. It was anger. Raw. Focused. She dropped her weapon. Seraph paused. Interesting. Good, he said. Acceptance reduces suffering. Mara took a breath. Then another. She reached into her pocket and crushed a small capsule between her fingers. The pain exploded. Not psychic. Chemical. A surge of sensory overload flooded her system. Heat. Sharpness. Clarity. Training drilled into her nervous system long before she ever left Earth. Seraph staggered. What? Mara moved. She closed the distance in 3 steps and drove a blade into the base of his skull, where psionic shielding was weakest. Seraph collapsed. The pressure vanished. Mara stood over him, breathing hard. Humans didn't resist psionics by being stronger. They resisted by being stubborn. The final horn sounded. Trial complete. 30 survivors were extracted. Mara collapsed onto the transport platform, exhaustion finally claiming her. Above the arena, silence filled the command center. Commander Vila stared at the results. Mara Cade. Human. Non-combat classification. Top 5 survivor. Most confirmed eliminations. 0 alliance reliance. Instructor Seln exhaled slowly. She didn't fight like a warrior, he said. Vila nodded stiffly. Then what did she fight like? Seln looked at the data. Like a human. The kill trial had ended. The Academy would never be the same. The Academy tries to fix its greatest mistake. Mara woke up in a white room. Not the sterile white of a medical bay designed for fear, but something quieter. Softer. The hum of life support systems was low, almost respectful. Gravity felt normal. Air tasted clean. For a moment, she thought the trial was still testing her. Then she tried to sit up and failed. A sharp pain flared through her body, followed by a firm but gentle push on her shoulder. "Don't," a calm voice said. "You earned the rest." Mara opened her eyes fully. Standing beside the bed was Instructor Seln. Up close, he looked older than he had in the command center. Lines marked his face. His posture, though controlled, carried the weight of long wars and longer memories. "Am I alive?" Mara asked. Seln tilted his head. "Very much so. Against overwhelming statistical expectations." She closed her eyes again. "Figures." Seln allowed himself a small smile. "You survived the kill trial," he said. "Top-tier performance. The Academy has accepted you as a full combat candidate." Mara was silent for a long moment. Then she said, "That wasn't the deal." Seln blinked. "Explain." "You didn't accept me," she said slowly. "You misjudged me. I survived anyway." Seln didn't argue. Outside the recovery wing, the Academy was in chaos. The evaluation core had been suspended. Entire sections of its logic framework were under review. Species profiles were being rewritten. Emergency councils convened. The phrase spreading through the halls was one no one liked. Human variable. Some instructors were furious. "The trial is supposed to reward strength," one shouted during a closed meeting. "It did," Seln replied calmly. "Just not the kind you recognize." Others were afraid. "If more humans apply," another voice said, "the balance shifts." Commander Vila said nothing. He watched Mara's combat footage again. And again. And again. When Mara was finally cleared for movement, she noticed the change immediately. Eyes followed her. Not mocking. Not dismissive. Calculating. Students who once ignored her now stepped aside. Some nodded respectfully. Others looked away, unsettled. Predators didn't like prey that learned how to hunt. She was summoned to the central chamber on the third day. Commander Vila stood waiting, armored arms crossed, posture rigid. "You embarrassed this institution," he said without greeting. Mara met his gaze. "You tried to bury me alive." A tense silence filled the chamber. Vila exhaled. "The system failed." "No," Mara replied. "Your assumptions did." That landed harder than any insult. Vila studied her carefully now. "What are you?" Mara shrugged slightly. "Human." That answer scared him more than claws ever could. The Academy adjusted its policies. Humans were no longer marked non-combat. They were listed as adaptive combatants. But even that label didn't sit right. Because labels implied limits. Mara began training officially. And that was when the real problem started. She didn't train like anyone else. She questioned drills. She modified routines. She ignored tradition and optimized results. Where others trained to overpower, she trained to outlast. Where others memorized combat forms, she tested failure points. Other students copied her. Quietly. Suddenly, endurance mattered. Awareness mattered. Preparation mattered. The Academy began changing, not because it wanted to, but because it had to. And beyond the station, the galaxy noticed. Recruitment requests spiked. Human inquiries flooded in. Some governments panicked. Others smiled. Mara stood at the observation deck one evening, staring into the stars. Seln joined her. "You changed things," he said. She shook her head. "No. I just showed you what was already there." Seln studied her carefully. "What happens when more of your kind arrive?" Mara's eyes reflected distant galaxies. "Then you'll learn something important," she said. "What's that?" "That humans don't need to be the strongest," she replied softly. "We just need enough time to adapt." Somewhere deep within the Academy's systems, a warning echoed. The kill trial had been designed to test survival. But it had done something far more dangerous. It had proven humanity belonged. And the galaxy wasn't ready for what came next. The trial that redefined the galaxy. The first human transport arrived 6 cycles later. It wasn't a warship. That detail unsettled everyone. No armored hull. No visible weapons. No intimidation markings. Just a clean civilian-class vessel, modest in size, steady in approach. And inside it, 12 humans. The Academy Command Center went silent as the docking clamps locked. Instructor Seln stood beside Commander Vila, both watching the live feed. "They don't look like soldiers," Vila said quietly. Seln didn't look away. Neither did she. Mara Cade waited at the intake platform. She wore Academy combat gear now, not customized, not ceremonial. Functional. Used. Scarred. She stood relaxed, hands behind her back, posture calm. When the hatch opened, the humans stepped out one by one. Different ages. Different builds. Different expressions. But the same eyes. Observing. Measuring. Adapting. One of them, a young woman, looked around the massive hall and whispered, "So this is it." Mara nodded. "This is it." Word spread faster than protocol could control it. The human kill trial survivor. Some called her a fluke. Others called her a warning. The students watched closely as the new humans were processed. This time, no one laughed. No one dismissed them. The evaluation core, now heavily restricted, hesitated longer than usual. Threat index, unknown. Combat viability, adaptive. Classification, pending. The Academy had learned its lesson. Or so it thought. The next kill trial came. And this time, the humans were not alone. They didn't form alliances the usual way. No loud declarations. No dominance displays. They spread out, gathered information, and regrouped only when necessary. They communicated quietly. Efficiently. They shared knowledge, not ego. When the arena activated, something strange happened. Casualties dropped. Not because the trial was easier, but because humans interfered. They disrupted ambushes. They broke up kill zones. They dragged wounded competitors out of collapsing terrain, not out of mercy, but calculation. Survivors created survivors. Predators didn't know how to respond. By the end of the trial, the survivor count exceeded expectations. The system flagged it as an error. It wasn't. Mara watched from the command deck as extraction beams pulled candidates from the arena, humans and non-humans alike. Seln stood beside her. "They're changing the nature of conflict," he said. "They're revealing it," Mara replied. "War isn't about who hits hardest. It's about who lasts." Commander Vila approached slowly. He looked older now. "The Council wants to limit human enrollment," he said. "They're afraid." Mara met his gaze. "They should be." Vila hesitated. That wasn't an insult. She smiled faintly. "I know." Beyond the Academy, the galaxy reacted. Human advisors were requested. Then demanded. Human doctrines studied. Human endurance training adopted. Human tactical philosophy spread, not through conquest, but imitation. Wars shortened. Battles became less predictable. The old powers struggled. Not because humans were stronger, but because humans learned faster. One night, Long after the halls quieted, Seln asked Mara a question. Why did you really come here? She didn't answer right away. When your kind labeled us non-combat, she said finally, you assumed survival required claws, armor, or strength. She turned to face him. We survived our own world first. Seln understood then. The Academy had not tested humanity. Humanity had tested the Academy. And the galaxy had failed to see the difference. As Mara stood beneath the stars, watching new transports arrive, human and alien together, one truth became impossible to deny. Humans were not the strongest species. They were not the fastest. They were not the most violent. They were something far more dangerous. They adapted. And once given a battlefield, they never stopped learning how to win. The end.